temporary ban.
Yeah.
Hello, it is 6 o'clock on February 17th, 2026, and I'd like to call this Village of Sugar Grove Board meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
President Stovall.
Here.
Trustee Lundy.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee Special.
Here.
Trustee London. Here. Trustee Roscoff.
Here.
Thank you. Up next, we have a proclamation to honor village engineer Brian Shiver. Brian, would you like to come up? Brian Shiver began his professional journey in Glendale Heights, where he developed his skills in community development and established a strong foundation for excellence. In 1996, Brian joined the Village of Sugar Grove as its engineer, where he transformed the building permit process and successfully navigated the critical transition to the Fox Metro Water Reclamation District. In 1999, Brian made Sugar Grove his home, establishing a deep personal connection to the community that has lasted for decades. In this final chapter of his career, Brian has worked alongside the Sugar Grove Public Works team. Together, they've ensured that the village's infrastructure remains strong and resilient. Whereas Brian Shiver concludes his career marked by integrity and mentorship, leaving a lasting impact on the Sugar Grove community and thousands of lives that benefit from his work every day. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that President Sue Stillwell and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sugar Grove extend their deepest gratitude to Brian Shiver for his years of service and for love of his community. We wish him the very best as he embarks on his most rewarding role yet, a full-time career. Presentations, we have none this evening. Appointments, we have none. Airport report, Trustee Special.
Yeah, we had a meeting and basically there's no updates on anything. There's nothing really going on at the airport right now. So,
Thank you. All right, we have public comment on scheduled action items. The consent agenda, actually, we have 2 people signed up for public comment.
One more. Okay.
Is this including general business or that's later?
This is, so,
Agenda and
yes, on the consent agenda and general business, so let me read those first. Consent agenda this evening, we have the approval of the February 3rd, 2026 Village Board meeting minutes, approval of the vouchers, approval of the January 2026 Treasurer's Report. On general business, we have a resolution, a bid award for the Illinois 47 and Park intersection improvements, a resolution with HR Green for construction engineering for the IL 47 and Park intersection improvements, a resolution for annual well testing, a resolution for a zoning map, a resolution approving plat of easements for the Grove Area 1, resolution approving snowplow agreement with the Grove Area 1, a resolution approving a snow plowing agreement with Brighton Ridge, and then an ordinance for special use for fiber height. So I don't know.
Yep, public comment for items
Sorry.
scheduled for action. Yep.
All right, I signed up first, we have Gary Thompson. Did you want to speak at this public?
Sorry.
Okay. And then Abigail, I don't want to pronounce your last name. Grotto. Grotto.
I just wanted to come up and express my gratitude and my thanks for this board finally putting an end to the, what's the word I want to use? The terror that is that intersection at 47 and Park. I was messaging Sue and telling her my story back in 2018. I was in an accident where I had to be airlifted. And so my family and I have been watching and hoping that this intersection would get fixed for so long. And we were honestly doubting it ever get fixed until someone died, which is not something that would want to happen. And so I just wanted to come and express my gratitude that something's finally being done. And she had mentioned Brad.
Yes.
Thank you for trying really hard for being in communication with Illinois, even though they didn't approve it, is what I heard. Something's still being done. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that, and yeah.
Thank you so much. We're glad you're doing so well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Illinois approved the engineering.
Oh, they did?
Mhm.
Yay, awesome. All right, thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, working with IDOT takes a couple of years.
Yeah.
We're glad to move that project along. I've been retired 3 years and we were working on that when I was still working.
I didn't sign up, but I wanted to make a comment on the plat of easements.
Absolutely. Steph.
All right. What I'm concerned about, what I have some questions about, due to the sensitivity of the Crown land to development from both the CMAP report and Kane DuPage soil reports, I have questions about the retention pond and the requirements and effectiveness of that pond. Required size of a wet retention pond is primarily determined by the volume of runoff it must manage, which is driven by the drainage area, local rainfall intensity, and the amount of impervious surface. Key sizing factors include regulatory requirements, soil permeability, required pollutant removal efficiency, and need for permanent pools to handle water quality, typically ranging from 3 to 6 feet. There are formulas in here. Regulatory standards, the local state guidelines often specify the water quality volume needed, frequently require enough capacity to treat the first 1 inch of runoff or specific storm events. Example, 2, 10, or 100-year storms. Permanent pool volume of water is required for pollutant removal through settling. And this is often designed or designated as a minimum of 1,800 feet to the third power per acre of drainage. And soil composition and infiltration has also an impact. It says clay and heavy soils may require larger, shallower storage to prevent rapid overflow, whereas sandy soils may require a larger, deeper pool to maintain water levels, often needing a minimum drainage of 10 to 20 acres to maintain the pool. Now, there's been problems with that pool since they started digging it. During a drought, they were constantly pumping overground onto the forest preserve property. And I don't have measurements on it, but by eyeballing it, I doubt that it's more than 5 acres of area there. And it says basically, for a loamy absorbing soils, it should be a minimum of 10 to 20 acres. I don't know if there's been any specific engineering reports that quantify the measurements and talk about these issues, and you guys have seen it. The standard engineering report, just a second here, let me pull this up real quick. All right. Requires village engineer to issue a written groundwater compliance analysis, requiring peer review, requiring geotechnical borings across hydric areas, requiring an update of stormwater modeling within saturated soils.
Harry, I'm so sorry. The 3 minutes.
That's it? Okay,
Thank you very much.
just give it some thought, and if you haven't seen this stuff, you should before you vote on this.
Thank you.
Penalty.
else like to make a public comment? Jana?
Jaden Chadda, Blackberry Township resident. There's so many reasons why this shouldn't be approved. The water runoff, originally the TIF was because of water that was supposedly flooding downstream. And now with the subdivision, you have even more water going downstream. It's done the opposite of what this was originally supposed to do. The groundwater, it's obvious, like what Perry said, it's groundwater. It's not stormwater or anything like that. Basements, future residents, is this going to be another Mallard Point situation? And there were 4 times of improper procedure when the village approved the original plat. The Planning Commission meeting last April was improperly called. Sue should have been sworn in during the April 23rd meeting. The Village of Sugar Grove lawyer told Jen and the board that any action could be deemed invalid. But Jen signed the plat anyway, and then Sue vetoed it. The plat shouldn't even be recorded. During that April 23rd meeting, everybody on the board was supposed to take a straw poll on what to do, but they sat in silence, and Jen stayed village president until April 1st, or until the next meeting in May. This entire thing has been a complete and total mess. The village has now been sued twice, and if this plat goes through, I imagine the village would likely be sued again due to obvious negligence regarding the obvious groundwater. Just because the engineer says it's not groundwater doesn't make it true. Just because they have a fancy level spread system to discharge the water doesn't excuse the fact that it's obviously groundwater. I imagine you're creating Mallard Point 2.0. How many millions was spent on cleaning up that mess? I see a probable class action lawsuit against the village from its future residents when they'll likely have basements flooding and repairing constantly running sump pumps. The agreement with the Forest Preserve says nothing about groundwater discharge, which this obviously is. The village is setting itself up for disaster thanks to Crown and the actions of the previous administration in rushing this development through. Vote no, do the proper engineering, and fix the mess.
Thank you, Jana. Would anybody else like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, we will close public comments at this time. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Special. If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye.
The ayes have it and the consent agenda is approved. Up next, our first item of general business is a resolution, the bid award for the 47 and Park intersection improvements. This one will be presented by Brad Murphy.
Good evening. Tonight I bring you guys great information. I emailed all you previously before the board meeting, but on February 6th, we opened bids for the improvements at Park and 47. We received 6 bids. The lowest apparent bidder was deconstruction at $242,662.11, which was 46% below the engineer's estimate. So I'm here tonight to ask your permission to award the bid.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve from trustee Special and a second from trustee Lindy. If we could have roll call, please, Tracy. Or, I'm so sorry, is there any discussion? First.
And we're happy with the design and
Yeah.
everything.
It's been approved by IDOT,
Yeah.
so we're kind of limited to what we can do.
And they didn't modify it at all.
No, just a little bit of, they added some more advanced signage and some striping and stuff like that, but nothing major.
Okay. This is something we can post on our Facebook website just so people know in advance.
We will, as soon as I get a start date, or tentative start date, we'll get it out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Is there any other discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye. Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
The ayes have it in the resolution bid award for the 47 and Park intersection improvements is approved. Up next, we have a resolution, PSA with HR Green for construction engineering for 47 and Park intersection improvements. Is there a motion and a second to discuss on item 11B?
I'll make the motion to discuss and approve.
We have a first from trustee Special. Is there a second?
I'll make that second.
And a second from trustee Lindy. Brad will also present this item.
This is also related to the intersection, so this is for the construction observation during the installation and improvement, so with HR Green for $41,000.
Is there any discussion? If we can have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special,
Aye.
Trustee Lindy,
Aye.
Trustee London,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the resolution approving the PSA with HR Green for construction engineering at 47 in Park is approved. Up next, we have a resolution for annual well testing. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11C?
I'll make that motion for discussion and approval.
We have a first from trustee Special. Is there a second?
I'll make that second.
And a second from trustee London. Brad Merkel will be presenting this item.
Good evening. This is also just something we do annually to test our wells. We test, current static water level, gallons per minute, pumping water level, drawdown amperage, discharge pressure, etc. Just really helps us keep an eye on what our wells are doing annually to look for decrease in capacity. So it's just a good maintenance thing. We've been doing it for probably 15 years now.
Yeah. Does a Sugar Grove Water Authority help out at all, or?
No, but I always give them the report so they know what's going on. Yeah.
And then recently there was an article today that over in Alberta, one of their wells, I believe, tested positive for PFAS. Is this in this $7,200? Would that be the testing?
No,
that would also
that's
identify?
tested through the IEPA.
Okay.
So we test ours too. It's typically occurs in shallow wells only. So
Okay.
they must be using a shallow well if they're tested.
Okay.
We've had one that tests, well 7 will test positive and then 6 months later it's negative.
Okay.
It like goes and comes, it's really weird. But that's why we only use that well for emergency.
Okay.
So,
Is there any other discussion? All right, if we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special,
Aye.
Trustee London, aye. Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
Trustee Roscoe,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
Trustee Lindy,
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the resolution for annual well testing is approved. Up next, we have a resolution for a zoning map. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11D?
Make a motion.
We have a first from trustee Roscoff. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Bonnie. Danny Marion will be presenting this item.
You have before you the 2026 official zoning map. This is standard procedure. Every year we update our zoning map to include any amendments that were done the previous year. So before you is the updated zoning map for your approval.
And then, is there any discussion?
Yeah, the post office has usually posted the zoning map in the past, so if we approve this, if you could get a copy to them.
Sure. So if we make changes throughout the year, then, would they go into effect immediately or not until the next zoning map is approved?
They go into effect immediately, but we only update our zoning map once a year to do all of the amendments at one time to save on cost and not doing several maps.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, if we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Roscoe,
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
Trustee Lindy,
Aye.
Trustee London, aye. Trustee Special,
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, and a resolution approving zoning map is approved. Up next, we have a resolution approving the plat of easements for the Grove Area 1. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11E?
I'll make the motion to approve and discuss that item.
We have a first from trustee Special. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Bonnie. Danny Marion will be presenting this item.
Sure. As you all know, the plat of subdivision for the Grove Area 1 was approved last April, subject to final engineering approval. Through the course of final engineering review and approvals, it was determined that additional easements were needed. This is being addressed through a plat of easements, which is what you have before you. These easements are dedicating easements for sanitary sewer, Fox Metro, public utility public and utility and drainage easements. There's an open space easement, and so this plat is addressing those easements that are needed. So you have it before you. Staff is recommending approval of the plat of easements. We do have a representative here from EEI. Jana is here to answer any questions that you guys may have, as well as the applicants are here as well.
Thank you. If the board doesn't mind, I have several concerns about both of these plats. This is a plat of easement, a corrective plat of easements to correct the original plat that was approved last April. And so I want to provide a little bit of history about that first. So the plat that was approved last April was approved in a special session. And I myself had encouraged both the village president at that time and the board to take their time and not approve something that wasn't ready. Our village code actually requires that engineering be done before the plat is presented. So this plat was approved 10 months before the engineering was even done. So the engineering was finished this week. By doing it this way, so our code requires that the engineering be done and then it be brought to the board so the board can consider the engineering. By doing it this way, the board was bypassed entirely. At no point in April were the village president and the board able to look at the engineering and have any sort of, comments, request changes, nothing, because it was just approved at that time. The engineering wasn't done. Now the engineering is done and signed by the engineer, and the engineer signed it because that's what he does when he's done with the engineering. He's probably not used to doing things so out of order. So that's not no fault of his. But now that that's signed, it's like we're done with Area 1. At no point was there village president or board input on this plat. So in looking at the new easement plat that was proposed, I noticed several errors on the Area 1 easement. I'd like to point those out if you don't mind. I'm going to use this microphone so that the recording catches what I'm doing.
Just a little switch on top before.
Okay. So, is this, okay, Tracy, is there any way you could flip over to the Grove, the original plat? And then if I could have page 2 that has, yes. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed, along the southwest corner, and I apologize if you cannot see, along the southwest corner, this lot border is, it says 969.90 feet. If you add the, if you start at this area, which was accepted out, and you add each of the pieces in between, so the 257, there's supposed to be a 60-foot road, several lots that are about 70-something feet. This lot 26 says it's 142 feet, and then there's another little bit down here. It doesn't add up to 969, it added up to something roughly 60 feet less than that. So when I asked EEI and the engineers, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do my device. I asked EEI and the engineers, they called the surveyor, and the surveyor pretty much said, oops, this lot 26 actually should be 205 feet. 60 feet on a plat is a pretty big oops, because if the surveyor goes to stake this or the builder goes to build using this, things could be in the wrong place. This is really a risk. So that is one. Over, where is, would you be, have to, oh, that's 37, hold on, sorry. Another, while the screen is up, parcel A. So there's this large open space easement. If you look, there is no measurement whatsoever. So, how wide is this easement? I have no idea. How would a surveyor stake this? I don't know. I asked EEI, they said, well, if you calculate and and you remove all these lots that actually have measurements, you can figure out the measurements of parcel A and parcel B that have no measurements. These measurements are required, they are not optional. The Plat Act requires precise measurements for each area. So now this one's wrong, this one's not there, this one's not there, and then there's another lot. Tracy, could you go to page 3? I have to remember where that says. This is, somewhere, I thought it was around, would you mind going back to around lot 37? Okay. 37 has one. There's another lot. I'm sorry, I do not have it in front of me. I do have it written down. But there is another lot that's missing the west lot line dimension entirely. So these are just mistakes that I have found. So at least 3 areas missing a measurement altogether, and then 1 that was off by 60 feet. Now, I do have some experience with surveys. I am a title examiner. However, I am not an engineer. I am not a professional land surveyor. If I found 4 mistakes, how many mistakes are on this plat that was approved without board input whatsoever? So now we are being asked to approve a second plat because this one was incorrect. It's signed, and so they're saying that we don't have the ability to fix this. If you could pull up this second plat, if you don't mind, Tracy. The easement plat. So on the easement plat here, it looks like they have added a measurement for parcel A, and so, the first plat didn't meet statutory requirements, so we're trying to add parcel widths with an easement plat. This is not the document. You'll notice that none of these other lots have widths because this is not the document that we're supposed to be listing widths. So when the builder and the surveyor, they go out, looking for these measurements, they're going to look at that first incorrect plat. They're not going to be looking at a plat of easement to figure out what the original measurement should have been. In addition, there is so this down here, this Village of Sugar Grove sanitary sewer easements. On the original plat, this was landscaping. So all along Merrill Road, the board approved this with what was supposed to be trees. Instead of trees, we're now getting a sewer. So that original plat, the Grove Area 1, so Danny said it was approved subject to engineering approval. It was actually also approved subject to landscaping approval. I believe our board and not staff should have the chance to discuss the original Area 1 plat before we're adding on corrective plats, before the first one is even fixed. The board should get to decide, do we actually want to approve a whole bunch of trees being replaced with a sewer easement? When they said subject to landscape approval, I believe they meant the board's approval of huge changes like that, not an individual staff member. And no offense to you, Danny, the board has had no input to that original plat, and I feel that's a huge disservice to the residents, to the future builder. And I'm not trying to throw a wrench into your development plans, but requesting two accurate plats should be combined into one. These two plats should be combined into one accurate plat. What I think should be done to resolve all these errors, because what they're saying, I asked them today, they're saying that to fix lot 26, they would like the surveyor to do a corrective
Certificate of correction.
Thank you very much, a certificate of correction. The problem is that you can't use a certificate of correction on either of those easements because I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's not a statute, it's in the surveyor's state regulations. They cannot modify easements with a certificate of correction. So what they're asking us to do is to record this plat knowing it doesn't meet the state requirements, and then fix it with multiple corrective documents. This is an absolute mess, and I think if we use this, we're at risk of, things being built to the wrong, incorrect lot lines. I think that's a liability risk to us, and it's confusing to anyone who looks at any of this. So what I personally think the board should do, number one, definitely, I don't think the plat of easement for Area 1 should be approved today because it needs to be corrected, and then the original also requires correction. I think that we should nullify the original resolution approving and then require one accurate plat that is actually brought to the board for the input and the required landscaping approval. We did not approve the landscape or this change. So for me, I would request that the board table this until, at minimum, the corrections are made. Any other discussion?
Could we hear from Crown or their representatives on this? And yeah, I'd like to find out more information about that easement being switched from landscape to sanitary.
Sure. Dan Olson with Crown. We're here tonight for the plat of easement, right? And not the plat of subdivision. We will acknowledge there was a scrivener's error on the plat of subdivision. It is commonly and easily rectified with a certificate of correction, what the surveys do. The missing dimensions, as you mentioned, Mrs. Mayor, is they're easily calculable by doing the math, and that's typically done. So the only error that we see on this plat of subdivision is the incorrect dimension along Merrill Road, and that's again very commonly done, very easily done with the certificate of correction. As far as the plat goes, the plat of easement, which is before you tonight, the sanitary easement along Merrill Road is for sanitary sewer that is in place today, surveying Hannaford Farms, and that was something we granted years ago. I'm not sure why the plat didn't get, our easement didn't get recorded at that time, but that's why it was added to this plat here. That's a sewer that's in place today. So that's why they're, and as far as the other issues on the plat of easement, we believe there are no other issues with this plat. So I'm not quite clear on what issues you're talking about.
Thank you, Dan. So the Plat Act and our village code require precise measurements. So when you're saying parcel A and B have to be calculated, that means the measurements are not on there. And I don't think it's unreasonable for us as a board to request a plat that complies with state law and village code.
So, I'm sorry, so you're asking them to add a number to that, to do the certificate of correction for the one plat, and it sounds like this sewer is already there.
Sewer's already
So
there.
you're just showing what's existing.
Right.
So because the plat is fully signed, they cannot just add the number. I'm asking for a full corrected plat.
Because you can't add numbers.
Correct, to a fully signed
You're talking about the plat of subdivision.
plat. The original, yes.
So you want to undo the plat of subdivision because.
I just want them to correct it, and then we approve a corrected plat. So if they corrected and presented a corrected plat with the measurements for A and B, the 60-foot correction of lot 26, and somewhere around, I thought it was lot 37, it's a different lot, I'll get back to you on that, but there's another lot missing a measurement. So if they fix all of those things, and the easements on this original plat are also incorrect. So if they're gonna fix those things, combine the easement plat into the original plat and just provide one accurate plat that we all sign off on.
So this is where we defer to the engineering department and how many plats they're used to dealing with the subdivision of this size.
Jana's here and she can answer questions on the plat.
Please go to the mic.
Could you ask the question again, just so I can hear it
So-
correctly?
How many in a subdivision, particularly one of this size or a subdivision, how many plats? You usually have a separate plat of easement, a separate plat of subdivision. If I understand, the village president, she's looking for a combined plat. Is that something that's normally done, or do you normally have the separate plats?
Usually you can have multiple plats.
Okay.
Easements are generally have other changes and stuff later on sometimes. It just depends on how
So
things
it-
progress.
So it's, okay, so it's,
Our village code requires this beforehand, so if the engineering was done beforehand, we would have had one plat, just like we do for the other subdivisions, that was accurate.
Do other subdivisions have multiple plats or they have one plat?
No, and the other subdivisions, to my knowledge, and maybe Scott, you can confirm, the engineering was done and then it was presented to an accurate,
No, I'm saying, do they have a plat of easement that's separate from the
no,
plat?
easements are typically included on a subdivision plat. They just had to do it separately this time because they approved it 10 months before the engineering was done.
I know the latest subdivisions we did, Brighton Ridge, Sellers Ridge, they don't have separate ones, but from the older subdivisions, I was unable to confirm because our records aren't super, and I didn't have enough time to dig into it too deeply before this meeting. But I know it's not uncommon to do a separate plat of easements. I don't know how the other subdivisions here, if we have any in our village or not for sure, but it's not uncommon to do so.
As someone that has worked with surveys for over 20 years, typically if I'm going to find the easements, I will look on the plat of subdivision, and then typically there's, like, they mentioned a single easement. If there's a single easement granted, then usually, there's something recorded for that easement, but typically there's not a subdivision plat and plat of easements. I truly don't recall seeing that, and I think you'd have a hard time finding that. And I look at them all the time, and I don't remember seeing this. We're doing this to correct things, but it was done all out of order. This is a mess.
Sean, trustee Michaels, have you dealt with multiple, well, if you're dealing with have you done subdivisions of this size?
We have, but it's usually a single plat.
You have a single plat? I
Or
believe-
that's what's presented to us.
'Cause
by the
I
law.
believe I've seen multiple plats, but I think it depends on the size. I mean, that's what our engineer said, it's not uncommon to have multiple ones, so I'm not as disturbed by that, having the two, if it's not uncommon to have two different types. Just, if anything, for the clarity of the drawing, so you don't have too much stuff on there. As someone who has worked in the industry for almost 30 years.
Well, this
Think that
isn't
can
clarity
be-
of anything. We've got lots that are 60 feet off, lot was missing, A and B are missing, and that's required by statute.
Is there a reason this needs to be approved tonight? If in 2 weeks, could it be brought back with the corrections?
It's under general business, is it not?
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
under general business, we don't necessarily have to vote on it tonight.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're behind. I mean, Sean, you're in the construction business, we are way behind. I mean, this plat, the plat of easement, the engineering plans went through a very rigorous year-long review by 3 different entities. The village engineer, the AEI, and Fox Metro. And, we have approved plat plans and approved plat, and easement plats are very common after the fact. I would say yes, quite often, easements are shown on the original plat of easement, plat of subdivision, but quite often they're done as a separate plat. And the reason for that is as pipes get changed through the engineering process, the plat of subdivision was approved conditioned upon engineering. Things changed after that, and you have to change the easements. That's why this occurred, right, through the engineering process. But it's very common. We do this all the time. And as far as, approval of the plat tonight, which again is what we're asking for, the plat of easement approval. Yeah, we're behind the construction. The construction season's around the corner here. It's been a year.
With all due respect, when you say you're behind, you had 10 months to get Kinley Horn and EEI, and you said 3 different entities. Everyone could have gotten these plats to be accurate. At this time, I'm the one. Why is the village president having to look at this plat and telling you that your lot distance is 60 feet off?
We believe the plat of easement is accurate. The plat of subdivision has one scrivener's error.
No, it's missing It's missing a west lot line. It's missing parcel A and B north border dimensions, and then the lot 26 is 60 feet off. That's 4. And that's only what I found. Another engineer or surveyor needs to review this, because if I found 4, there's likely more. And I found these 4 while I was doing other things as well. If I have to sit down and look at everyone, I'm probably going to find more. But there are 3 entities, like you said, that actually get paid quite a bit to do this. So I think it needs re-review. If I find 4 errors, there are more. So I think we should table it, have them re-review, and come back with corrections at a minimum.
Respectfully, we don't feel there are 4 errors. We feel there's 1 error.
Well,
And the 3 entities did review it, right? And it was missed. We missed that 1 error.
So when
And it's
the plat-
it is easily rectified with a correction, certificate of correction, which happens all the time.
So when
all
the
the time.
Plat Act says that precise measurements are required for the parcels, and this plat does not have any measurement for the northern border of the parcel, why should we record that? Why should I sign off on something that doesn't meet a statutory requirement, just because you pretend like it's no big deal? I happen to want to comply with the statutory requirements.
It was a plat that was approved by the board 10 months ago.
Correct,
we're
but it
just
still
asking for
doesn't
the plat
meet
of easement
statutory
to record.
requirements. I only looked at it this week because the engineering was finally done. So at that point, that is when we review.
We're not asking for the plat of subdivision approval tonight. We're asking for a plat of easement.
Unfortunately, your plat of easement is based on this faulty original plat of subdivision. That's corrective. So if the original document is a mess, you can't just approve something else on top of it.
I disagree. We believe the plat of easement is correct. Plat of subdivision has 1 error, which is easily rectified, and very commonly done with a plat correction, with a certificate of correction.
All we're looking at is the plat of easement at this time, and
Except
You-
that the original isn't in a recordable format, and we can't record the plat of easement first.
the plat of easement that we're looking at this time, the lot 26 has the correct dimension.
Plat of easement, the lot 26 doesn't have a dimension for that on this plat of easement because it's only
It's just
identifying
an easement.
easements.
But it looks like you do have parcel A dimensioned, is that correct?
Correct.
So that is, so you don't have to add to get that line. So you're saying that the errors that, of the 26, it was drawn correctly, it was just not
It was labeled incorrectly.
labeled
The wrong
incorrectly.
dimensions placed
So
on
everything will
on the original
work
plat of
out.
subdivision, correct.
So,
Well, where's the
So-
parcel B measurement?
It looks like this plat was submitted in December of 2025.
I believe so.
So it's not been 10 months of review, it's only been a couple.
No, I'm saying the plat of subdivision was approved 10 months ago.
Oh, but this, okay, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the plat.
This one has gone through rigorous review with staff and engineering enterprises.
But just since December.
Correct.
So where's the parcel B measurement?
The parcel B measurement?
Yeah.
You have to do the calculation.
No, but
Yeah.
that, again, so the Plat Act requires the precise measurements beyond, like, there's no calculating, right? That's not what the.
As
Plat
long as the
Act requires.
information is there, I believe it meets the
No,
Plat
so
Act
we got a
statute.
legal opinion on this.
So I would say this, in terms of if you were to do a certificate of correction too, I think engineering should actually review and make sure that's consistent with, both the easements and the original plat of subdivision itself. So, and we've had some discussions about this as well. In our view, we'd just like to see, confirm with engineering, we're not on the ground. We'd like to see that, engineering signs off on any changes that are in a certificate as well.
Engineering has signed off on this plat.
On the certificate of correction, you're saying, I'm sorry.
Oh, on the certificate of correction, certainly.
We don't want to, I'm not going to say it should be any specific way. We'd like engineering to actually sign off on any certificate of correction before we recommend.
But that's a plat of subdivision that needs the correction, not the plat of easement.
Well,
I'll rely on engineering. for that.
if you're saying that parcel A, the measurement is corrected by the Plat of easement, but parcel B, you're gonna calculate, you're gonna have to correct it to add the measurement for parcel B if this is what you're using to correct the fact that it's not on the original plat, which I still think is against state statute, but at a minimum, you're at least missing one measurement. I know that truly apologize, there's also a lot missing a west lot line measurement. I'd have to,
I'm not sure where that's at, but I mean,
well, that's why this is not ready to sign off on, so. Maybe you
We
do the
can-
corrections, have the engineer review, and then bring it back.
If the plat of easement doesn't require that, because it's just the easements and it doesn't require each individual lot to be dimensioned, and as long as it's graphically shown accurately. So just for the plat of easement, then that lot 26 doesn't need a dimension. If a plat of easement, I'll defer to our engineer, does a plat of easement usually, if you have a separate plat of easement, does it usually have the lots dimension?
On the plat of easement, typically all the easement dimensions are on there. So like, for example, the Lot A reference that Sue's been referring to actually takes you the 25-foot Fox Metro easement, which is then 25 foot wide, and then continues over further to the end of the west side or east side of parcel A. So the dimension she's referring to is a dimension to the easement.
It's just a dimension to the easement. So if somebody, because you said you've seen where you have a separate plat of easement. So with the separate plat of easement that you've seen, do they usually have all the lots individually dimensioned? Like, no, they don't. So that would not need to be required for the plat of easement.
If you don't add it, Heidi, so they are saying that it's okay that the dimension is not on the original because for parcel A, it's shown in the plat of easement. If you're not requiring it for parcel B, then it's not on either plat. And so there's no shown measurement for A or B. We do have a legal opinion that the Plat Act requires precise measurements, as does our village code. We require the lot dimensions and the parcel dimensions. So I am asking, is there a motion to, unless there's any other discussion, can we have a motion to table this?
There's a motion. There's a motion made by Member Special and seconded by Member Bonnie to discuss and approve the plat of easement. That was made before the discussion began.
But can we modify the motion to approve to a motion to table?
Yeah.
Can we have a separate motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to table.
I think we have to vote.
I had some more questions on this.
Okay, absolutely, go ahead.
So if this is accurate, because it doesn't need all the dimensions because it's a plat of easement, then you are going to issue the certificate of correction for the plat of subdivision?
Correct.
Can you issue, when you do that, can you also issue information so we have those other dimensions added on
we
there?
certainly can.
So that would
As part of
solve
that
that problem.
certificate of
We would
correction.
add those on there, so that would be corrected.
Correct.
This doesn't need any corrections because this is a separate plat of easement, which doesn't, when you have a separate one from our engineers that say you don't normally have those dimensions on there. So if we're dealing with two different ones already, then we would get a certificate of correction that would also pick up those other items. So that would cover that. Am I understanding that's one way to deal with
It's
that?
clarification, we can certainly do that as part of our certificate of correction for the plat of subdivision.
Except that neither of you can do that with a certificate of correction for the easements, because again, the surveyors cannot use a certificate of correction to modify easements. It's in their state code. I actually have this section written down.
So, I would defer to our attorney on that and to look into that. But if we get the certificate of correction first on the subdivision, then then there's no problem because that would match our easement. If it's the order you're looking at, then you do the certificate of correction on the subdivision first, then you.
Heidi, how are you suggesting that we fix parcel B? the missing measurement required by our code and the state for parcel B. How are you suggesting we correct it?
They
Because
said
you
on
can't-
certificate, okay,
You can't
It's-
use that on an easement. Can you please pull it up? Yeah, I sent it to you.
If
Brian's
you-
gonna pull it up.
if you correct it on the,
You can't just change a fully signed plan.
I believe the parcel B measurement is on
They
there.
need to be
It's
in
the-
front of Mike,
sorry.
please.
I believe it's the parcel B measurement is on the plat. It's the right-of-way measurement that's not listed on the plat. And I don't think we would be amending or making corrections to any of the easements.
It's not on the one on the website, and is it, can we pull up the original plan? Yeah, administrative. So Heidi, the easements can be modified because of the administrative code for surveyors. We have the section if you need it.
I guess I'm not sure what easement we're not asking for an easement to be
A measurement
amended.
for parcel B. Is there a measurement there on parcel B that does not require calculation?
We're not changing these, we're just providing a dimension on the plat of subdivision. Not changing these,
it would be a clarification.
clarification of the line width.
But that's the full thing. Yeah, that's the full. For parcel B alone.
Jenna, that's for parcel B alone.
Parcel B does have a dimension
Okay.
on sheet 3 of the plat of subdivision.
And that's not just the part shown on page 2. It extends all the way from lot 46 through our parcel B. Okay. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
what is the other complaint? You said that there was one other lot that you don't remember has missing a number on the,
Yes, and this truly is, if you want me to sit and look over this plat and find which lot is missing the west lot line, that shows how nonsensical this is to do this in the middle of the village board meeting. Let's table this, have an actual engineer or surveyor find all of the problems and then correct them all at once.
Get it right.
To respect Madam President, but it has been reviewed by,
Well, it wasn't reviewed very well if I'm finding the mistakes.
there was,
Okay,
again,
where is
we
the other
reviewed
lot missing the west lot line? You find it then.
where there's, I'm not sure.
But there, one of these lots is missing a measurement along the west lot line. So if there's no errors, you know, if you wanna resolve this right now, you find it.
There's one error, again.
No, there's not just one error. I told you there's parcel A, you're gonna fix,
Right.
the one missing 60 feet. And again, one of these lots is missing a measurement along the west lot line.
is
Do you
it,
think we should all sit here and do this in a meeting, or do you think we should have an actual surveyor or engineer find all of the errors?
but we did have engineers do that, did we not?
But they clearly didn't do a good enough job, to be honest with you, or I wouldn't be finding lots that are off by 60 feet at a quick glance.
Again, we're talking about the plat of subdivision, which will require Scrivener's error. If there are more errors, we can clarify those, fix those on the
I'd
plat of
rather
subdivision.
have the time to
Correction.
just have an accurate one and then approve that.
So we're going to have one more speaker to your evening. I'm John Mays, I'm the attorney for Crown. I understand it's an engineering issue. I think the board is leaning toward taking 2 weeks to look at this. I think we're okay with that. I want to be really, really clear here. We will not go back and sign a new plat. You have a final plat. Our solution is certificate of correction. When you talk to your counsel, he's going to tell you a certificate of correction is an authorized and approved method of handling Scrivener's errors. So I don't want the board to sit here and think that when you're done with your discussion, Crown's going to come back here and reapply for a plat. That's not going to happen. Take that as it is, make your judgments, consult with your counsel. We'll wait the 2 weeks. Thank you.
Well, thank you for at least being reasonable about 2 weeks, so these things can be corrected. I think everybody needs more time to look at this plan. And then also, the original was subject to the landscaping approval. I think there should be actual landscaping approval from this board. I think that should be an item required for that plat, because it was approved subject to landscaping approval.
Danny, I have a question. Landscaping approval, does that not go usually before, is that something covered by the building department?
Yes, we look at the landscaping.
Yes.
It's covered, we review it.
When's that done typically?
I'm sorry, what was that?
When's
It's
that
already, we do it as they're, like, it's been going on during final engineering. I know, there was, discussion mentioned that the landscape easement along Merrill became a, sewer easement. There's still landscaping along Merrill. That, none of the landscaping was, there was some reduced because of it, the landscaping wasn't removed
So there's
completely.
trees in the sewer easement?
I don't know that they fall exactly in the sewer easement, but there is landscaping along Merrill, and Crown could probably talk a little bit more about exactly what's there, but yes, we've reviewed it, it's not non-existent.
Yep, could you clarify whether there are trees in the sewer easement?
All I would say is the sewer is existing. We didn't propose or change anything with that.
There.
Yeah, so every time we submitted revised engineering plans, we submitted new landscaping plans along with it. So it's our understanding that they have been approved. I'm looking at, it does look like all the plantings are beyond the sewer easement, if I'm reading this correctly. But I have to compare that to the plat of subdivision. It looks like they're beyond it, but they're still there. So we have not reduced what has been submitted to the village staff as far as landscaping goes.
Is there any other discussion?
Excuse me. I was hoping that Crown could comment on the topics that were brought up during the public comments that pertain to the flood control and drainage runoff, because there was some serious concerns that we would have impact long-term other residents that are already there, as well as this subdivision, so that we're clear that all of that is being addressed as part of the area with retention, et cetera.
Sure. And I can tell you, first off, we exceed all the requirements of King County Stormwater Ordinance, which is the governing documents here, or ordinance here. We do submit, as everybody is required, every developer is required to submit a stormwater plan and a report. That has been reviewed and rigorously reviewed, and there's been changes and modifications as we move pipes and whatnot, and has been approved by the village engineers. As far as concerns about basements and flooding, I can tell you the King County Stormwater Ordinance requires that the high water level needs to be at least 2 feet below the highest opening in a basement. Our normal water level is 2 feet below. At the lowest foundation out there, the high water level is 1.5 feet below the basement floor, not the opening, highest opening. So we well exceed it. First thing we do whenever we go to a project and consider purchasing land, we do soil borings. They provide a lot of information, the soil borings that report that we have been submitted to the village.
Excuse me, so when I asked you for soil borings and you said none existed, where are those?
I don't believe I ever said that.
I was absolutely told that. We were told no soil borings exist by Crown.
I don't recall that.
It was an email from me. I asked for the soil borings. We were told none exist.
They were
They were out in the field with equipment digging. I said, you're digging, it appears to be soil borings. And then I was told none exist. So they do exist. So please get that over to the village
I
and
believe
me.
the village already has them.
It was submitted as
They were
They were
submitted as
submitted.
part of the PDD requirement.
What?
Yeah.
They were submitted as part of the
Are
PDD.
you, the only soil borings I got were extremely old. So what year are the soil borings that you were?
Those are the ones that we have, because usually not a lot changes with soil, so it's not
Correct, but he's
common for them
saying
to
the
do.
first thing we do is soil borings. Are you saying recently?
No,
Or
I'm
what
saying,
year?
so we purchase a property, we do soil borings.
Okay, so
So
no.
the soil borings you're referring to are the ones that I'm referring to.
Okay, all right. Okay. I thought you were saying that you had done more recent soil borings.
We have not.
Okay, so question on the basement. So the water table here was originally 1 to 3 feet below the lot line, I believe, is what was on those last soil borings. So what is the plan? So I understand that you have a plan for stormwater, but for the groundwater that would naturally flow there and be around the basement, I know you're doing some grading, but natural water is still going to continue to flow there. So is the plan then to rely on sump pumps to get that groundwater up into the sewer system?
The lowest basement elevation, the lowest foundation on the property, the borings show that the water is 16 feet below that floor of that basement.
That's not what the soil borings showed. I mean, they literally
I
said
did
in
the
some
calculation
places 1 to
today.
3 feet.
I can show staff the calculation I did.
Okay, if you don't mind sending it to me,
Sure.
maybe tomorrow. Okay. And then, so when you say there's a stormwater protection plan, what's the answer to the residents that are asking about the groundwater that is also being added to the water that is then being pumped downstream?
We believe the groundwater we believe the groundwater is much lower than that, the groundwater table. It does fluctuate, but like I said, it's 16 feet below according to the soil borings, 16 feet below the basement floor
So,
in that area.
Brian, you had sent me a copy of the soil borings. At the lowest level, it was between 1 and 3 feet, I believe. I think we had several emails going back and forth about this. I did not see
At the
16
worst
feet.
soil. Brian,
At
can
the
you go to the mic, Brian? I just want to be on record.
I'm sorry.
Brian's gonna say.
The worst soil boring location is 1 to 3 feet. That does not mean the groundwater is a constant 1 to 3 feet across the entire site.
And so,
Those worst soil borings, where you're talking about the shallow groundwater, are typically located where those stormwater basins are at.
and then, so how many lots total are on this plat of subdivision?
I don't know.
240, and how many of the 240 lots have a ground water level that is expected to be at 16 feet? Or are not all of these lots approved for
It
basement?
varies across the site. That was
Yeah,
the
can you-
example of the lowest foundation. You'd have to look at every soil boring at every, and the foundation, the top of foundation at that location to determine that. I took the worst case scenario. Lowest foundation, highest groundwater.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question. So is the expectation to get the corrected plat in 2 weeks, or is that not going to happen? Is that something going to take a while to do that, or what's the?
Yeah, we provide a certificate of correction.
Okay.
Which is, be done tomorrow.
And then, but can we, so right now we're relying on the full list of mistakes being what I pointed out this evening. Can we have, I don't know who we can have, either Kinley Horn or Brian or EEI, someone needs to agree to re-review this for
We're already
all
doing it.
errors. You said that it's being
We're
done?
already doing it.
Okay. And that's Kinley Horn or you are?
Kinley Horn.
Okay. So then, yeah, if we can have an update from them confirming there's no other errors. All right, given that, is there any other discussion for this evening? All right, so,
So there's still a motion second on the floor to the village attorney's the parliamentarian.
I don't know if it was seconded, we actually just went through it. So you want a motion to table again?
A motion to table it.
Wait a second.
Does the first and second motion need to be withdrawn that were already made for the
No,
approval?
that's just a bit for discussion. Table,
Okay.
override the motion to table.
Thank you, just for clarification for everybody in the room.
all right, we have
Quite
a
good.
motion to table from trustee Roscoff
I'll second it.
and a second from trustee Michaels. Can we have a vote, please? Roll call, please, Heidi. Tracy, sorry.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy? No. Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this will be tabled until the next village board meeting.
Dan,
complete your statement on those retention ponds, so their feeling is that the water table's below the basements by a significant amount. But the ponds seem full with no impervious surfaces there now. Is that,
It could be many. It could be perched water. It could be, I don't think, based on the borings that I've looked at, I don't believe it's a groundwater table. But it could be perched water. It could be runoff.
What's perched water?
Perched water is when you get a clay level and it forms a bowl and the water just sits within that bowl. It doesn't mean it's a groundwater table, right? So.
because it does seem like JNS is pumping frequently out of that pond.
So the pumping that you're seeing is when we were putting in the sanitary sewer for Fox Metro. It's a deep sewer. As you know, we have to do deep wells for that. So the pumping was occurring for the installation of those pipes, if that's what you're referring to.
And maybe that's what's causing it.
Right.
You see.
Yeah, and then we did have to pump from the pond because we couldn't get, the outfall wasn't in for a while, but when we pumped it, but that would be all that we were doing at the time. It's functioning as it is designed to, and it's industry standard. That's how it was designed, and it's been reviewed, like I said. So, the system works.
Sure. My name is Eric Tracy. I'm the civil engineer of Killian Warren, so just wanted to add one clarification as well on the stormwater. There's roughly 300 acres that flow through this central point in our pond, and what the Kane County Stormwater Ordinance requires is for us to restrict the flow only for our site and bypass the rest of it through an overflow weir, but ultimately reduce the amount of runoff that comes off of that discharge point. So it's roughly 27 cubic feet per second that it reduces the runoff by adding its detention to this area. That's about 12,000 gallons per minute. It's a pretty significant reduction, but because we're putting the restriction on the downstream end, which again is what the code requires, more water is in that pond more frequently because it's restricted at that point.
And so what happens when it overflows?
That we have provisions in place for the pond for that water to safely be conveyed through our overflow weir and continue on its natural course. And again, the existing condition actually had more flow going than we have in the proposed.
So if you're saying that it has a clay bottom and so it's not reabsorbed, and then you are pumping the extra across the street, but once it gets full, it's just gonna overflow and take its natural course, and you've added in groundwater.
I'm not talking
Less
about
water
pumping,
goes.
I'm talking about rainwater runoff, flows to the pond, goes through the restrictor, and anything above and beyond what that pond is designed for, which again is just that site, goes through the overflow weir, similar to what it does in the existing condition, which is travel over land.
But it won't overflow the road, it won't.
It's less flow than there is today, right? And that's what the code requires.
Yeah.
All right, up next, a resolution approving snow plowing agreement with the Grove Area 1. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11F?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Special. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Bonnie. Danny will be presenting this item.
One of the requirements in our village code is that the village enters into a snowplow agreement with developers. This is just a backup agreement basically that states that the village has the right to hire a third party to come snowplow the roads in these new developments until the village, at the time or before the village takes over the roads. So if the developer is not keeping up with the snow plowing at that time, then this is an agreement that outlines the cost that the developers will be charged. And we are required to do these as part of the plat of subdivision requirements. So you have before you an executed one with Sugar Grove LLC. And we are staff is looking for the board to approve for President Silwell to sign the agreement.
Is there any discussion? Can we have roll call, please, Tracy?
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye.
The ayes have it, and the snow plowing agreement with the Grove Area 1 is approved. Up next is a resolution approving a snow plowing agreement with Brighton Ridge. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11G?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Special. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Bonnie. Danny will also present this.
This is the same agreement. This is just with Lennar for Brighton Ridge. And staff is just recommending approval for the board to approve a resolution that authorizes President Stillwell to sign this agreement.
If we could have roll call, please. Or, I'm so sorry, is there any discussion on this one? If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and a snow plowing agreement with Brighton Ridge is approved. Up next is an ordinance for the special use fiber hut. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on 11H?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion from trustee Roscoff. Is there a second?
Make that second.
And a second from trustee London. Danny Marion will be presenting this item.
At the previous board meeting, the board discussed an application for a special use for a fiber hut facility to be located off of Route 30 across from the airport. The final build out of the special use would be 6 fiber huts along with a couple generator pads. They are requesting deviations. The following deviations being requested is a deviation to allow for an 8-foot tall privacy fence around the enclosure, a deviation to allow for a crushed aggregate gravel base in place of the required hard surface within the enclosure, and a deviation to not require any street lighting. Board's discussion last meeting included the additional architecture standards that the Plan Commission recommended, and they also had comments from a resident who spoke on the electrical engineering for the project. The board directed him to meet with the engineers from AECOM, which he did, and the comments provided by the resident are in your packet along with AECOM's responses to his comments. And we have the engineer from AECOM here also to answer any additional questions you may have tonight. But staff recommends approval of the proposed special use to include the requested deviations, subject to the following conditions. Subject to final engineering approval, the installation of future huts within the subject area may be approved at staff level. There shall be no new above ground poles installed and all lines must be buried. With the noted modifications, the building in the northeast corner shall have a gambrel roof design with a metal roof and a central cupola. The building will have composite board and batten siding with bronze trim accents. The building color will be warm white. The other 5 buildings toward the rear of the site will have gable roofs with composite board and batten siding with the same color scheme as the northeast corner building. And the eastern red cedar shall be replaced with another type of pine tree.
Is there any discussion?
I would just like to make sure it's noted as a record that the resident was a former plan commissioner who has expertise as our local expert in this. It wasn't just, somebody out the street kind of thing.
His insight and the questions he asked seemed valuable. Were there any modifications that you made based on his questions and information?
I'm Michael McIntyre with AECOM. The modifications that we made were to take each fence post and ground each individual fence post as he instructed, and then add signage that is bilingual. The rest of it was just kind of answering questions of how stuff was notified, and we went into extreme detail of how the stuff interacts with an NSO within the Meta compound and how that talks to your local 911 and local authorities to have them go.
Great, thank you.
I'd just like to go on the record, I think what we're requiring for the site for architectural standards is really onerous on the development with the privacy fence. I don't know how much you're going to see. And I think by adding these roof sections, we're actually drawing more attention to it than less attention. So I'm going to vote against it just because I don't think we should be requiring all these architectural amenities. It's not against you, it's against what we're requiring.
Is there any other discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Teresa.
Trustee Ruska?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye. Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
No.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye. The ayes have it, and the ordinance approving special use of Arrowhead is approved. Up next, we have the second public comment. Would anyone like to make a public comment?
Gary Thompson. Over the past week, I've written to the board collectively and corresponded individually with the village president, urging strategic planning be placed on tonight's agenda. This is not a new suggestion. I've raised it with several of you in the past because I believe it is essential to the village's future. Since it didn't make it to tonight's agenda, the importance of critical planning compels me to address the board directly. Based solely on our currently approved developments, our community is posed to add nearly 1,900 new households in the next 3 to 5 years. With an average of about 3 residents per home, that comes to about 6,000 additional residents. That is a population increase of more than 50%, and these figures reflect only projects already approved and underway. With growth of this magnitude, the absence of a formal strategic planning discussion is concerning. Managing this scale of growth without a clearly articulated strategic framework increases the risk of reactive decision-making rather than proactive leadership. Yes, the village adopted a comprehensive plan in 2023. That document is an important foundation. However, a comprehensive plan is not the same as a strategic plan. A comprehensive plan outlines long-term land use and development policy. A strategic plan defines priorities, establishes measurable objectives, sets timelines, and creates accountability mechanisms aligned with the board's current vision and mission. It's also a driver of the budget. If the board has a shared vision for how this community should evolve amid rapid growth, it should be clearly defined, documented, and put into action. That requires deliberate effort, it requires alignment among elected officials and management, and it requires measurable benchmarks so progress can be clearly evaluated. Strategic planning is not optional when facing transformational growth. It's part of your duty of foresight as stewards of the village. I understand we may not have in-house expertise to facilitate such a process. That's why I previously suggested considering an outside consultant to guide it. But before discussing facilitation, the board must agree that the conversation is necessary. I respectfully but strongly urge the board to place strategic planning on an upcoming agenda to discuss, ask senior staff to participate, and hopefully result in a commitment to initiate a formal process. The scale and pace of growth demanded. Every journey begins with the first step. I look forward to you take that step. And for your reference, the local area, Geneva, Batavia, St. Charles, Montgomery, Oswego, even Campton Hills and Elburn have both a comprehensive plan and a strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I make it?
Anybody else sign up? Yes.
Sorry, I took the floor, but
Yeah, I never sign up for these things. I don't like commitment. Just a reaction to the debate and the response. I guess if the information I heard tonight, the statute requires precise measurements, then that means precise measurements, not ad hoc. And during the hearing process, and this whole process, I've been involved since 2018, Crown has always pushed everything for certainty in their favor. And what this comes down to is certainty in the village's favor. There's exposure to risk here that if things aren't done right, then problems may come out years later during the building process or something else. So you have to follow the letter of the rule in this, I believe. And if I'm sitting here and their engineers, or they're telling me that they had 10 months of extensive review and they couldn't get it right, that scares the hell out of me. You know, they can't even add or find errors on their own reports they're submitting for approval for 210 lots that they want to build on. So that raises a red flag to me. And I don't know what you guys have seen or what you haven't, but if you're going to vote and approve this stuff, I hope you have seen it and you're aware of the information. Because you know you do have a fiduciary responsibility to represent the public and their safety. And things can go wrong. And again, I refer to Mallard Point. That was approved by engineers. That was built, and it was a mess. And it still is. And it cost the village a lot of money, and it cost those people a lot of headaches. I was in one of the meetings in 2019 when one of the homeowners almost was in tears asking the village to buy her home because it was black mold. Pumps were always running. It was full of water. And I also hear about the borings. What were those made 20 years ago? What means they're accurate today? And they're also discounting the report from CMAP and from Kane DuPage, which show shallow groundwater and shallow aquifers as high as 5 feet in this land out here. Can you tell me that everything's at 16 feet below top of ground for these basements? In certainty? Any of you? I don't think you can. I don't think they've proven that. So ask them to do some new borings. They did 212 borings, what, in 2003, 2004? Is that relevant today? Would you bank on that if you were buying a property and you thought there might be water problems? Well, we did borings 23 years ago. So, and that's my business. I dealt with certainty and facts and details, and that's what you have to look at here, not just, oh yeah, it's okay, we'll just make this correction. That's how you get problems, policy problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane Chad of Blackbird Township. I have a question that I think all of you guys should think over, and I wish Crown was here to hear it as well. Who are the future residents of Area 1 going to sue when their basements flood? Is it going to be the village or is it going to be Crown? Because Crown is assuring you one thing, but you guys want to give it the rubber stamp, but you don't really have the proof of what they're saying, but you're going to give them the rubber stamp anyway, so just think that over. Maybe discuss it in your executive session, I don't know. I just don't think the village, this is not going in the right direction. I think the village is way in over its head, over 50% increase in population over the next 3 years, which was all approved within 6 months of the last village president's term. And it shouldn't have taken the village president, after going through 3 different engineering firms, to catch these problems. I doubt that the last village president would have caught it. She probably just would have given it the green light and signed it and given it the rubber stamp. This is not going well. You guys really need to dive into this. And the other thing I don't understand is Crown says that right now there's less water running over into, or under Merrill Road into the forest preserve and then down into Blackberry Creek than there was before. The evidence is out there right now. It's frozen, but you can see where the water level was, not only in the retention pond or detention pond, because I think it changed what it is now because there's always water in it. There wasn't always supposed to be water in it in the first place when it was approved. But the water level is frozen in the forest preserve on how high it went, and it fluctuated. There was never standing water across the street from Area 1 before Crown started digging. It was never there. The whole point of the TIF was to get rid of, apparently, downstream flooding, which there was no proof, and Jeff with the G from SB Friedman said that it was irrelevant. But you have no proof of anything. I think Crown is going to be really upset, and I think you guys should start thinking of what's going to happen down the road when you have to work out a deal with Crown when Dale Essling wins his lawsuit. Because if you guys give the approval for home builders to start going and Crown puts money in for infrastructure, then what if Dale Essling wins his lawsuit? Who's going to pay for the infrastructure that now isn't in a TIF? Or you guys need to look into that. That's, I don't know how many millions of dollars that the village might be out, or maybe Crown, I don't know. But things have not been done right for the last 3 years. I was a senior in high school when I started coming to these meetings, and here I am. I'm going to be a senior in college next year. And it's been downhill since I started coming here. Thanks.
It's been a little uphill. Thank you. Up next, is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we will close public comments at this time. Up next, we have a discussion item, extension of the audit contract, and Karen Johns will present this item.
Good evening. The village has used Lauterbach and Amon as their auditors for the past 9 years. The 2025 audit was the last audit on their contract, so staff is looking for direction if you would like me to present a renewal with Lauterbach and Amon at the next meeting or go out for bid for new auditors.
I personally, even though they've done a great job, I think it's always beneficial to the village to get bids. That would be my opinion.
I would agree. 9 years. is
Just to
a
make
long
sure,
time.
yeah, the quote is still competitive.
Brian, does the, for professional services, would this need to be a request for qualifications for an auditing service, or would it be a request for
Yeah,
proposals,
so-
where we could ask for prices? If it's a request for qualifications, we're not allowed to have price be one of the qualifiers.
It should be an RFP for this.
Okay.
For auditing services.
So then I just want to clarify that if it's a request for qualifications, we would need to hire them based on their qualifications, and we can't, like when you're hiring an architect, it shouldn't be based on the cost. Is that correct, Brian? Just want to clarify that point.
There's no way to consider costs of,
You can set the proposal as such as part of the criteria in this sense, but like it's basically you're looking at the qualifications of all the bidders.
Scott, you might want to elaborate between an RFQ and an RFP.
Yeah, so a request for proposals, you're looking a bid. There's essentially 3 different ways to do acquisitions. Request for proposals, a bid, and a request for qualifications. Request for proposals, you're going on and you're buying like maybe a piece of IT equipment. It's not a professional service, and you go out and get that, and you can base it on price as long as it meets the proposals. A bid is more formalized, often done alongside the state of Illinois or through IDOT, where there's very specific, you have to accept the lowest responsible bidder. In a request for proposals, you can have other factors, not just price, as the answer. In a request for qualifications, you are supposed to look at the merits and qualifications of the bidders, not justified just on price or justified on price.
so can price be a consideration at all?
We defer to Brian.
It's qualifications is basically you're supposed to go to the most qualified entity that can provide the services.
Okay.
I mean, we can look at price in that sense, but you're supposed to be going for the qualifications.
But it's not necessarily true that we would get a better price from the most qualified candidate that would meet. We'd come up with a matrix of 10, usually about 10 different things. We'd have a review committee. It's what we did when we hired the new village attorney. And we sat down and we went through and we said, this is our request for qualifications. We measured all of those things. And then after we chose the top firm, we went and we negotiated a contract that included the price. So doing a request for qualifications doesn't necessarily mean that we would get a lower priced firm, but we could potentially get one that is felt to be more qualified. I just want to make sure I put that out there that we can't only judge them on price.
I still think we're looking at qualifications.
So in the RFQ, would they give us the price?
Typically, you cannot ask. I've gotten pushback for asking for price in RFQs in the past, specifically with architects, and if auditors fall under the same professional services exemption.
Is $25,000 a year within reason in your experience?
In my experience, yes, it's a good price. Lauterbach and Amon do an excellent job for small communities with budget constraints. Some of the larger firms I've seen up to that cost significantly more, and other firms that typically bid on small communities may not meet the qualifications test.
Okay. I mean, if we're not allowed to look at price, and they are very qualified, I guess.
I would also ask if the board does want us to do a request for qualifications, if we could potentially, with Karen being new, renew, maybe do a 1-year renewal and bring back this discussion next year when she has more time to work through a request for qualifications and work on the budget as a new employee. I think it would be a heavy burden on her. So if you do want us to do that, I would ask that we renew with them for 2026, and then we come back and do an RFQ in the following year. But we're more than happy to do that. I do worry about staff time for a new employee. I wanted to bring that up.
Question, if we were to do a one-year renewal, is that a different price, or is this just if we were to do a 3-year?
It is a different price for a 1-year renewal.
How many years have we had the same firm for?
The village has been with Lauterbach and Amon for 9 years. Typically, one thing I do to make sure that there's no collusion, which is the number one reason to change auditors, is to switch out the staff either on our end or the auditor's end, and make sure that staff is constantly rotating so there's no possibility of collusion. Even though the partner that you may see come to the board meeting may be the same, they're not the ones performing the investigative work on a regular basis.
Could we get a price before we make this decision on how much it would be for a 1-year renewal then? I know you don't know up front, but just trying to get an idea what the price difference would be.
I think it makes sense to keep the same auditors. Most companies keep the same auditors as long as they do a good job. I think it makes sense to have a 3-year contract personally.
The cost for a 1-year service would be $26,200 for next year.
Since we're unable to consider cost and they are doing a good job, do the other board members, would you like to keep them for either 1 or 3 years?
I'd be okay with 1 year, but look into RFQ for others, just with new staff to make sure we look at some options more for staff as much as might be another firm out there that can make the auditing process smoother.
Matt, what about you?
I'm good with the 3-year. I think they've done a great job.
All right, great.
I would be okay with having the 3-year extension, and it sounds like you had the collusion issue covered with making sure they change over staff so we have different people. But if they've been doing a good job, it kind of locks in a decent rate. We let it go. It sounds like we could be anywhere with the costs.
Just to piggyback on Nora's point, we've also changed out staff.
Yeah.
For the collusion thing.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's reasonable.
I'm for the 3-year. I think they've done a great job.
I'm okay with 3-year.
Okay. Sounds like 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next we have staff reports, Scott Keppel, administration.
My report's in your packet, and I'm happy to answer questions. I didn't get to add it, but it was because it was today, but I got to attend a Metro Mayor's Caucus meeting about environmental stability, and they highlighted some of the changes in the new act that was passed by the state of Illinois, having to do with solar and also battery installations that are coming, and they're definitely coming, and some of the zoning impacts of that, which was a very interesting, and I'm hoping to get the slides and keep learning more about this.
Thank you.
Any update on Hankus Road Bridge?
Yes, what executive session?
Oh,
Karen Johns, back.
I have nothing to add to my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
when will the budget workshop be for the board?
They will start in April, or the second. I don't have it in front of me. Apologize.
Hey, you could just let us know.
Absolutely.
Danny, community development.
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Chief Rollins, please.
I also have nothing to add. If you could answer any questions.
Thank you. Brad, how about, oh, yeah.
Quick question. How's the police department looking?
It's looking really good. Tomorrow we should have a supersized crane lifting the cement slabs over the selling point to make it a store-ready shelter. And then from there, we'll put concrete on top of that and get it ready for trusses. So the meeting regularly every 2 weeks with the architect. So interior, administrative side, admin side is pretty much drivable out. So it's going well.
Hopefully not too much wind when the crane lifts that up.
Yeah, we just get a little tomorrow, maybe some. Yes.
And to Trustee Michael's question, we're looking at the second meeting in March to start the budget hearings.
Okay. That gives us enough time to.
We have to have it approved by April 30, so we'll have that meeting, the first meeting in April, to continue discussions, and then hopefully approval at the second meeting in April. We typically do 2 workshops, one for general fund and then one for the remaining funds. And if need be, there's even another Tuesday after the second meeting in April, if absolutely necessary, to get us in by that April 30th deadline. So,
Brad, Public Works.
My report's in there, I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Trustee Lindy.
For the Forest Preserve, they got a lot of stuff going on. I encourage everyone to visit their website, see their calendar. They, just a couple items. Sunday, March 1st, they've got Botany for Beginners at, in St. Charles at the Bend Nature Center. And then they have something I've been to before, Saturday the 7th and Sunday the 8th, they have the Maple Sugaring Days. And those are, I believe, St. Charles as well. But that's a real fun activity. I encourage everyone to look and see what the Forest Preserve has to offer for everyone. For the library, early voting is going to be at the library, March 2nd to the 6th and March 9th through the 12th. I have that information posted on their website. In case anyone was interested, on February 21st, they are having a movie matinee, Wicked, here at the library. And also February 23rd at the library here, they have a tax aid program, AARP, but you do not need to be an AARP member to use it. So that's where you can get some help with the taxes.
Thank you. Trustee London.
Attended the beautification committee meeting and seed swap, which was here. And we had a great attendance, and it was seemed to be very well received.
Thank you. Trustee Special.
No report.
Thank you. Trustee Michaels.
No report.
Trustee Roscoff.
No report.
Trustee Bonnie.
No report.
My report also attended the seed swap. We are working on starting some plants for the Veterans Park Garden we'll be putting in. Our planning commissioner, Carrie Ann, is actually here tonight. She's growing lots of plants for that park, which is awesome. And she was so much help with this seed swap, so appreciative of everyone in the community coming together. That is it. Is there a motion and a second to enter executive session to discuss personnel 5 ILCS 122C1 and litigation 5 ILCS 122C11 and to adjourn the meeting after, as there is no further business to discuss?
I make that motion.
We have a first from Trustee Lindy. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
And a second from Trustee Roscoff and Michaels, whichever you choose. All right, we will enter executive session at this time. Oh, if we can have roll call.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye. Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff? Trustee Bonnie?